Welcome to Friends and Fiction. 4 New York Times bestselling authors, endless stories. Novelists Mary Kay Andrews, Kristin Harmel, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Patti Callahan Henry are 4 longtime friends with more than 70 published books between them. Together, they host Friends and Fiction, with author interviews and fascinating insider talk about publishing and writing, to highlight and support independent bookstores. They discuss the books they've written, the books they're reading now, and the art of storytelling. If you love books and you're curious about the writing world, you're in the right place.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Friends and Fiction Show. I'm Kristin Harmel.
I'm Kristy Woodson Harvey, and I'm really glad that we've color coordinated tonight.
It is like it's just further morphing into having one brain. I feel like, one giant brain, obviously.
Yes. We're just getting smarter and better all the time.
Exactly. And this is Friends and Fiction, 4 New York Times bestselling authors at one giant brain, endless stories to support indie bookstores, authors, and librarians. Now, on this week's show, Kristy and I are so happy, absolutely thrilled to welcome best-selling author Sally Hepworth to discuss her new novel, Darling Girls. The book was just released yesterday, and we are so excited to speak with Sally.
But first, we have just a quick reminder to check out all the fun things going on in our Friends and Fiction community at friendsandfiction.com.
There you will find our show schedule, details on upcoming in-person events, and links to our bookshop.org page, to the Friends and Fiction official book club with Brenda and Lisa, to our merch store, to our book subscription box, which is awesome, to our weekly email newsletter sign up, and lots of other things. So in other words, if you want to know more about anything Friends and Fiction offers, and as you can see, we offer a lot, be sure to check out friendsandfiction.com.
And speaking of things we offer, don't forget about our Friends and Fiction signed book bundle, which is going fast. As you may know, both Mary Kay Andrews and I have brand new hardcovers out this summer. So if you order the bundle from our friends at Oxford Exchange, you'll get a hand-signed first edition of both books as they're released, and some cool Friends and Fiction swag too that you can't get anywhere else for just $60, which is kind of a steal. You can even add on the brand new paperbacks of Patti's and Kristin's books, and those will come signed as well. And I've heard a lot of people are taking advantage of that, and I think you should too.
Well, it really is a great deal. And Oxford Exchange is so awesome. We were just actually talking before the show. Sally's going to be there as part of her book tour at Oxford Exchange in Tampa. And it's a great store. We're so excited that Sally's going to be there because she's going to love it. People are going to love seeing her there. But their packages, when you order from them, arrive wrapped like presents. So you feel like you're getting something really special, which actually you are. So remember that Mary Kay's new novel, Summers at the Saint, comes out in just 2 weeks on May 7th. And Kristy's latest, I know, isn't that crazy? A Happier Life will be out on June 25th. So if you love to read, you are really in for a great summer with these 2 great new releases.
So excited. Cannot wait. Well, speaking of great releases and books that, oh my goodness, you guys are going to devour, let's welcome our friend Sally Hepworth. Sally is the New York Times bestselling author of 9 novels, including The Mother-in-Law, The Good Sister, and The Younger Wife.
Sally's novels are available around the globe and have been translated into more than 20 languages. She has sold well over 1 million copies of her books worldwide.
Amazing. Sally is also the author of Uncharted Waters, published by Amazon Original Stories in 2022. Several of her novels have been optioned for TV and film as well.
She lives in Melbourne, Australia with her family. Sally's new novel, Darling Girls, which Kristy and I both loved so much, was just released yesterday, and it is a Book of the Month Club pick for April. So Sean, can you bring Sally on, please?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. That felt very fancy. I don't think I'm quite as fancy as that.
You are very fancy, and we're so glad you're here.
I think it was the color coordination that tricked you into the fancy feeling, right? You're
Well,
like, they care so much that they coordinated their tops.
and I've got matching nails. I didn't match the top, but I think I got the memo. What do you think?
Yes.
That's special, isn't it?
Together, guys, we are just the fanciest.
We are.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, who are we kidding?
Right?
We're very fancy. I'm so happy. Thank you for having me back again. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, Sally, we love you. We love you personally, and we know that you were such a favorite within the Friends and Fiction community.
Aw.
So we're thrilled to have you here. And as I said, we both absolutely loved the book. So let's get started. Can you
Thank
begin
you.
by telling us a little bit about what Darling Girls is about? And then our Friends and Fiction question that we always ask, what is the book really about?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so anyone who's read any of my books will not be surprised to know that it's about dysfunctional families with a little bit of murder. So in this book, I talk about foster families, which is the first time I've gone into that area, specifically three sisters, Jessica, Nora, and Alicia, who grew up together in foster care as sisters, ostensibly, even though they're not biologically related. And at the beginning of the book, they are adult women and they receive a phone call saying that a body has been found underneath the foster home where they grew up. And so the three women are sent back to the little town where they grew up, and they're forced to confront their childhood and some of the things that happen there. And we start to wonder if they are villains or victims.
Mm-hmm. That is a great explanation. Okay, what about what it's really about at its heart?
Well, like I said, all of my books at their heart are about relationships. And I think what I really was interested in with this book was about familial relationships when there isn't a blood relative. And that was the case where these three sisters, they didn't have any biological connection to each other, to the foster mother where they grew up, but they were really trying to connect and find family. And it was really about exploring what makes a family, and how we can kind of as human beings connect with each other and get ourselves and each other through things.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
That was such a great aspect of this book. And I loved these women and their relationship with each other. And anyway, so much about this book. Kristin and I texted a lot about this one. We loved it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So as you've mentioned, Darling Girls isn't just a thriller about what happened to the body found under the old Wild Meadows home. It is a deep dive into the psychology of three foster sisters, all of whom were traumatized in different ways by their foster mother, and all of whom had their lives shaped in different ways by that particular trauma. It was so creepy in the best way. Can you talk a little bit about the genesis of the idea for this novel?
Yeah, well, I started really, as with all of my novels, thinking what is going to be the family relationship that I explore. And foster care was something I've thought about a few times, but I kind of wait for the right moment. As you guys know, it's not just one idea that brings a book together. It's, 3-4 pieces. And I think what happened that really brought this book together, one was that a friend of a friend started fostering children, and I was really interested in it. And this mutual friend would always tell me stories about it, and I was always really interested to hear how it was going. And she was a single woman, and she was fostering two little boys who were 4 and 6. And I remember my friend saying that these little boys had started telling everyone that they were brothers, and they would go up to people and say, "This is my brother," and they'd only been together for a few months, and that was something that was really important to them. And it got me thinking about, if you have come from somewhere, you've got no one, that you're taken away from everyone you know and your family and your things, the desire to connect, especially as a child, is so strong. And so that was something that I wanted to really explore in the book. The other piece that was an article that I read about a 3-year-old girl in the States who went missing from foster care when she was 3. And then as an adult, she was watching a missing persons thing on TV, and she saw a photograph of a little girl, and she thought, that looks like me. And she then went and explored it a little bit and ended up doing a DNA test that proved that that was her. And I just thought, okay, this is my foster care book. I can put these two things together, and then that's going to make up my next story.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I love that.
So yeah, but I look, it was a really interesting thing to explore because I'm not a foster carer. I haven't grown up in foster care. So one of the things I did when I started writing this book was I put a call out for anyone who had grown up in foster care to see if anyone would speak with me about it.
Wow.
And I actually ended up speaking with 12 women who about my age who'd grown up in foster care, as well as 3 social workers and a couple of foster parents as well. And I think that was the kind of third piece that really brought it all together, because while all of the women had vastly different experiences from, at one end, what we would think of as being a really positive foster care experience. This woman was placed with her biological brother. She had loving foster parents. She stayed in touch with them and, had a good experience, right through to the other end, a woman who'd had probably the most dreadful experience that you can imagine, and everything in between. But what was the kind of connecting thing? As I listened back to all of these interviews, I realized that every single woman, all 12, had used the word lucky when I was interviewing them. And it really struck me because some of them said they were lucky because they were able to stay with their biological sibling. Sometimes they said they were lucky because they had been allowed to stay, through their final year of school, even after they had aged out ostensibly, and the parents were not continuing to be paid, which is often the case, unfortunately, that children are forced out and to get a job when they're in their final year of school. And in one case, and the saddest case, a woman said she was lucky because she was only sexually abused a couple of times. And what struck me about that word, at first I thought, or maybe this idea that they're lucky is that positive mindset is what's got these women through. But the more I listened to it, the more I thought, no, it's the opposite. Like, what is it actually doing to children if we're making them believe they're lucky just to have basic human rights that we all deserve: love, shelter, knowing where you're going to be, knowing, where your things are. And so I kind of flipped it. And when I wrote the book, I actually had called it, my working title was The Lucky Ladies, because I just, and look, I don't know that title would have worked because it doesn't necessarily convey what it's meant to, but that was the theme. And I think once you can read the book, you can see that it's about the fact that every child deserves to feel safe in their home. And that's not something that they're lucky for. That's a given. And that's our responsibility, because these children belong to all of us. And it's our responsibility to make sure that that's what they get.
Oh, absolutely. And that's heartbreaking when you think of all that. Wow. It's really powerful to think about lucky being the through line that ran through all of those interviews. So you told us a little bit about the genesis of the book and about these characters, but can you tell us specifically about each of the characters, Jessica, Nora, and Alicia? They all felt very just powerful and real, but they're all very different. Can you just kind of give us a quick little snapshot of all 3 women?
Thank you. Yeah, so Jessica is your classic type A personality. She is a home organizer. She goes to people's houses and decorates, or organizes their things in that real Pinterest style, color coding, marvelous way. She's incredibly successful financially. And on the surface, things are really good for her, but she actually has developed a little habit of taking things from the homes that she organises, specifically Valium, and slips it in her purse. So that is kind of closing in on her as the book begins. Then we have Nora, with an H, who is my favourite character, I think, that I've created to date. And she's also quite rigid in her thinking, but in a completely different way. She connects better with her 3 dogs than she does with any human beings. She has a really interesting relationship with sex, where she's been raised to kind of think of it as transactional, and so she kind of will have sex with men to get them to do jobs around her house and, change the light globes and get her plumbing fixed. And she's also and she's got into quite a lot of trouble with the law because she has a penchant for violence. So that's Nora. And then finally we have Alicia, who is probably the most together on the surface of the three. She's just this warm, lovely social worker who's really determined to make the world better for the children who go through foster care. But she also, of course, has her wounds from being raised in foster care, and specifically for her, it's about how to forge a meaningful relationship with someone.
Well, and it was so interesting too in reading these characters that, I mean, even as an outsider looking in, and even as someone who doesn't have just tons and tons of experience with foster care, you can see how these are their wounds. Like, they make sense. And so I think sometimes it's difficult, when we're writing characters from shared backgrounds, to differentiate beyond, like, she's the brown haired one and she's the blonde one. But these characters feel so vividly alive and fully formed and different from each other. But then there's still like that little thread that connects them, which I think is really interesting. So can you talk about, like, how do you go about that? Is it something that just happens on the page for you? Are you making yourself notes? Like, how are you going about getting that so right? And now I'm taking it.
I know. I was about to say, how do you do it? How do you guys do it? Do you find that, like, the more books I write, the less able I feel to answer that question? The less qualified, because because it does become something. I think after one novel, I could have said, "This is how you do it. This is how you write a book. This is how you create characters," because you've done it. But now, after all of these books, I don't think I could tell you how to do it, how to write a book, or how to create characters. And I know, I'm sure you guys feel the same. It does kind of happen on the page. And I think that often, especially if I have three women, which I've often had, I like the number three. I think it works quite well in terms of having the different voices. One of them will come to me the most strongly, and that in this case it was Nora, and then the other characters almost kind of are created around that character, like who's going to challenge her the most. Being the way she is, obviously someone like Jessica is just she came alive almost for the purpose of Nora, and then because there were these two, then Alicia kind of crops up. And I think it's so informed by the book, the characters, and then you have the characters, and then the plot kind of feeds what is going to force them to change. So it's so, and I don't know what comes first now. It's just this kind of interwoven problem, which is extremely unhelpful. If anyone is an aspiring author and is listening, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's not
go and find someone who's written one book, and they'll tell you.
I mean, Sally, it's kind of why we had you on, so you could teach us to write. We're a little disappointed right now.
You guys know much better than me.
No, that's so true though. Like that really is like a very resonant thing that you're saying, because I also feel like every time, and I don't know if you guys are the same, but I feel like every time I write a book, it's a little bit different than the time before. And it's not like, here's how I do it. It's like, oh, I wrote 7 drafts of this one. I wrote 2 of the one, I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not getting,
it's a different beast. I'm getting worse too. No question. and we're all, the thing that I love, and I said this recently on a podcast, is that every author I know, include, the most sophisticated and successful best-selling authors, we all ask each other, how do you do? We're all kind of desperate for someone to tell us a way, because we think that there's a better way of doing it. And I don't think there is. I don't know.
I will continue to believe, though. I'll continue to believe that there's like some author out there who just sits down and like 10,000 perfect words fly out of her each time she touches her keyboard.
Who do you think it is? Maybe it's a man. Don't you think it's the kind of annoying thing? A man, probably Stephen King sits down and does that.
I can
We
tell.
hate him.
This is going to sound terrible.
No,
but
we don't. We love him.
I think there's actually a man who would stand on the screen and tell us that he's capable of doing that. Really, his editor is going, I rewrote all of that.
That is such a good point. You're right. It's so true.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, it'll be a woman. Some woman out there is doing it, and when we find her, heaven help her.
Yeah,
exactly. That's right.
Banging down her door.
Exactly. All right. Now, Sally, as we've mentioned, the foster situation that Jessica, Nora, and Alicia find themselves in is horrifically dysfunctional. But you also note in your author's note that for every villain in the foster care world, there are hundreds of heroes working tirelessly to fight a broken system. Can you talk a little bit about that? What you found out and how that inspired you?
Yeah, that was really important for me to note that, because what I didn't want, what I did want, was to portray a story that was realistic, and it was created. It's not one particular person's story, but I did use the stories that I heard to create something that was, a realistic story. But it's so important to say that there are so many people out there doing good work and stepping in for these children when other people aren't. And it's very easy for us to say, I don't foster children. And, it's so easy for us to throw up our hands and say, it's too hard, the system's broken. And I just wanted to kind of look at that and go, well, okay, but what are we doing? Because they really are our children, they belong to, their wards, they're ours. And so if we're not doing this, and those people who are out there are some bad ones, but there are a lot of good ones. And the reason that the bad ones are getting the children is because there's not enough of them. And so I think that the message that I really want that I hope will get out there is that we can't all become foster parents, but there's so much more that we can do. If you think about the childhood illnesses like cancer and things, there are so many parents who have the means and ability and who love this child, who are advocating for these childhood illnesses. But when it comes to foster care, no one's advocating because there are no parents advocating for these children. And so you may not be able to foster a child. Maybe you can donate money. Maybe you can donate time. Maybe, you can, at your next work fundraiser, you can make that about raising money. And I think if everyone leans into it a little bit and takes on our responsibility that belongs to us all and thinks about, what if that was my child? I think that we can do so much more. And so I don't want to be pointing the finger at foster parents and saying that they're all horrible, because it's not true. I've met a lot of foster parents on the road as I've been publicising this book, and I've also had a lot of, I think I've probably had about a dozen messages from people who have started the fostering process after reading the book, which has been incredibly, because, as you know, we all write to entertain. We want to tell a story that touches people's minds and hearts and helps them escape. But if we can actually do something that's important and help someone, I mean, how magic is that?
Completely. Yep.
So magic. Best case scenario for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. Well, we also have to ask you about the book's dedication. You dedicate the book to Jen Enderlin, who made me an author. That's what you said. Sorry, quit to quote you. Since Jen is also the editor of our very own Mary Kay Andrews, we would love to ask you to tell us a little bit about who Jen Enderlin is and the role she's played in your career.
Well, it's funny because last time I was on here, you guys surprised me by having Emily Giffen on. Do you remember that?
Of course, yes, yeah.
So my history with Jen Enderlin went back to when I was reading one of Emily Giffen's first books, and I was reading it and I thought I would like to write a book. This is going back years and years. And I read the book cover to cover, and then I looked in the back and she said, "Thank you to my editor, Jen Enderlin." And so I did write a book, and I kept that in my mind. I thought, I want to get a book published by Jen Enderlin. And then it was not that. So 2 books later, I got my literary agent, and I didn't mention this, but then he sent me the list of editors that it had been sent to, and one of them was Jen Enderlin. And so then I told him the story, and he said, right, well, it's her then. That's who it's going to be. And it was her that offered on it. And then in the most amazing kind of wrap up to that story, we had Emily Giffen blurb that first book. So it was amazing. And since then, you know, I've written 9 books with Jen, and she's now the president of St. Martin's, and she only now edits a few books for a few authors. And she's, you know, I mean, I've been so lucky to have her all along, but she's the most generous and the most kind of empowering in terms of letting us write our books and tell our stories our way, but with that kind of laser sharp eye for what's working and what isn't. It's such a gift to be edited by her. And, you know, now she's, you know, I'm lucky enough to call her a friend. And yeah, I mean, what are we without our editors? Right?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yes. You know, and I know Mary Kay feels the same way about her. So that's just great. It's wonderful. Special. It's wonderful to find an editor who can respect your voice, but really bring out the best in you. You know what I mean? I think that's rarer than we might think.
And she's awesome. And we've hung out with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's just like,
yeah, you have.
Yeah. It's just like a great person. I mean, as you said, like a good friend and just a cool person.
Yes. And interestingly, and I didn't know this at the time, her and I have got the same birthday, June the 10th.
Really?
That has to mean something.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
That, you know,
kindred spirit.
My editor and my agent have the same birthday. Isn't that funny?
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
That's got to mean something, doesn't it?
Only you would know that. Like,
well, I've been with both of them for so long.
I know, but I'm just
I know my good.
What an inept person I am around you.
Stop. All right. So Sally,
at least there's only one birthday to remember, though. See, if they've got the same one,
it makes it so much easier.
Convenient.
If I could just make friends only with people who have that birthday, like think how easy life would be. I'd send out one patch of cards.
That's true.
It's easy for me because Jen's birthday is my birthday, so it's really not that hard to remember.
Perfect.
You're good, Kristy.
So, Sally, your books also explore strong relationships between women, which I think is a big draw for a lot of readers. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of writing books that celebrate sisterhood and female friendship? It seems to be that the most important relationships in most of your novels are between friends and or sisters, as opposed to between romantic partners. And I think that is something really powerful. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. That is absolutely true. And it's not even something that I plan. It's just, you know, these books are just a manifestation of who we are, aren't they? Yeah. And I am so lucky to have the most, you know, powerful group of female friends and family and daughters. You know, I really have got a very female life. And then, you know, over the last year or so, as life has changed a little bit for me, it's become even more so the way that the women have stepped up and been there for me. And so it really, women are who I'm interested in. They're who I have lived my life with. And so they're the ones that kind of make it onto the page. So it's not so much that I'm trying to do something. It's just, you know, this is my world. And so seeing women succeed, you know, through challenges, that's what I want to read about. And so that's what I write about.
You know, and I want to note that on your Instagram About Me post that you have pinned to the top of your page, you actually say, my girlfriends are my life partners and the loves of my life, which I love that. Yeah. It's what you were just saying. And I think that is very much reflected on the page in your books.
Oh, yeah, no, I've been very lucky to have had, you know, a very close group of girlfriends since I was a child. So yeah, that's, you know, women are amazing. Who doesn't want to read about them?
100%. Exactly.
And kind of along those lines, We have now come to the point in the program where we must discuss laundry gate. For those of you,
so excited.
this is so great. I know. So for those of you who do not know, Sally went viral earlier this year when she shared her laundry sorting system online, and people had a lot of opinions. So, Sally, as you wrote afterwards on your Instagram, my method either delights or disgusts me. Nothing in between. As someone who enjoys polarization, this excites me beyond measure. So I have to say, I said this backstage, but I have to say it to the audience. This was something that I loved talking to my female friends about, and it wasn't a question. Like I am very, and you're right. It's like there's no in between. It's one or the other.
No.
And I was 100% clear on which one my friends were. Like it was a discussion we were having, but it wasn't a question. Like I already knew this about them. So it was just a very exciting and very salient, relevant topic in my own. So can you tell us about your laundry philosophy, the debate it sparked, and how you feel about all the attention that you receive for your laundry?
I would love nothing more than to talk about that. Interestingly, my publisher said to me, Sally, would you mind trying to make your books go viral instead of your stupid posts about laundry and like wigs and also, can you tell us before you're going to do something like that so we can capitalize on it? I'm like, I don't know. How am I supposed to know? You know, the magic just happens.
Yeah.
But so it started because, you know, as you know, as you guys know, I became a single parent a year ago, and I, you know, hit my stride pretty well with the exception of laundry. And, you know, like it just is always there. I'm like, I just did some laundry like 2 weeks ago, and now look, and I just, it was the one thing that I just couldn't, like it would just stare at me, and it was so. I then, because I used to hang out the laundry. In Australia, we hang the laundry on the line. Stupid idea. I stopped doing that. So then
that gives me like a stomach ache to think about. I'm like,
right. I know. I just feel guilty about the environment. But look, I've stopped with the guilt. So what I did, I thought I need a system. So I decided that I was only going to do laundry if it came into the laundry. I'm not getting anyone's laundry, right? So I said, if you would like clean clothes, children, you will bring this laundry down and you will put it in the basket. And look, that was a really kind of touch and go judgment because my kids are disgusting and they actually would probably just continue to wear dirty clothes. But it worked out. We just, it was like a game of chicken to see who was going to win. So then I just throw everything in together. I don't sort. I think sorting is for sissies. I just shove it all in and shut the door, wash it, put it in the dryer, and then I just dump it in the hallway. And I've got 3 baskets with my kids' names on them, and they then are required to put the stuff in the baskets. They don't fold. I don't care. And then in theory, they then have to take it upstairs and put it away. So I thought I was a genius. And I, you know, like the arrogant fool that I am, took a photo and put it on Instagram. And then I think it got something like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of views and comments. And it was picked up, you know, by all sorts of news programs and everything. And I added the last kind of throwaway line, explained my method. And then I said, my friend M is probably having a panic attack right now. And everyone started commenting, I'm an M. I'm Sally. But then I knew who my people were. And so then people were saying, I want to see M's laundry system. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'm going to go and interview M. I don't know why. Like what? I'm an author. Why am I doing this? But the next thing, I'm in M's laundry. This is why, this is why I'm the way I am. But interviewing her about how she does it, which was outrageous. I mean, and people lost their minds again and just wanted more M. And so then that turned into, then they wanted to go into M's pantry. And so it just became this whole mini series about housework. And then it did actually end up with my editor going, Sally, can you just go and write your book because I don't really understand what's going on. But But look, the people love it. I think that the thing about laundry is that everyone has something to say about it.
Yeah.
Everyone does it, and everyone a bit like writing a book, wants to know how to do it better, and make it easier and get on top of it. So, it's taken on a life of its own. I just need to figure out how to have a crime that involves laundry. And although, do you know what was the best thing is that I ended up getting a voucher from a laundry service. After that, they said, "Sally, you need help. We're going to come and take your laundry away." And I thought, this has just paid for itself all of this time.
Well, there you go. That's amazing. Oh my God, I need to write about laundry.
You know what I think I love most about this is what I think I love most about it. I'm psychologically dissecting this. It wasn't even the system of the laundry. It was the fact that you were like, my friend M is having a panic attack right now. Like on a daily basis. Yeah. I think my friend Jessica would have a panic attack if she could see what I just did, like in my pantry / laundry / closet / whatever, because she is like utter perfection at all times.
Yes.
And I will think about her. So I think it's like also the realization of thinking about the friend that would be panicking and what you were doing.
Correct. And everyone has one. Yeah. And I'm so happy to hear, Kristy, that you're a Sally, because I was thinking you had M vibes to me. So this is very delightful. And the other thing, carry on with that.
No, I was just
to reply.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, I'm very selective about the certain things, and it's the laundry. I can't.
I can't. It's relentless, is what it is.
I'm a Sally all the way. I have no Oh my God. Can you not tell that from me? My brain would implode trying to be an M. Like it just wouldn't work.
Yes. And I think maybe it's a writer thing, that maybe our brains don't work that way, that we're kind of, and I spend, like you guys spend so much time thinking about my book, that then when there's something like a life task that requires my attention, I'm just so bamboozled by it. I'm like, I don't have the brain space for this. This just needs to go away.
Our minds are chaotic. And so it's like having to think about something like that. It's like, I can't. I've just created a world, and now you want me to do laundry?
Right, exactly.
The outrage every time, like the audacity of this laundry looking at me when I have got a book to write. And
exactly.
It's outrageous.
Maybe one day we'll all be at a place in our careers where we just buy new clothes whenever we need them. The old ones get dirty and new ones just come in. I don't know.
Well, honestly, especially when we get close to a deadline, I just buy new clothes. I'm like, I can't deal with this.
Especially for like tour. I'm like, I just need something to like be on a hanger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. So the laundry would just be like a big rubbish bin that we just like throw our clothes in. Well,
Jen enters and is like, stop talking about this. Back to the
stop talking about laundry. And now like all the environmentalists will be like, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. All right. Now, Sally, speaking of social media, you are wildly popular on Instagram. And part of that is your willingness, I think, to be very honest and open. So, for instance, you shared the news of your marriage separation last year, and you received a ton of support. You have also been very open about your androgenetic alopecia and the fact that you sometimes wear wigs and toppers. And I think that in being so open about topics we often don't talk about, you're destigmatizing things like that for your followers. I know personally that I spent an awful lot of time thinking about you and your wigs and your hair and how gracefully you dealt with all of that when I lost a lot of my hair last year during chemotherapy. Like, you took up a much bigger portion of my brain, I think, than I've ever told you. Because like, just seeing how you dealt with the hair thing, like, gave me courage to face it myself. It really helped me to see you dealing with hair loss with such positivity. So can you talk a little bit about sharing these pieces of yourself so publicly, and a little bit about how you balance that with pieces of your life that you choose to keep more personal?
Yeah. Oh, look, thank you for saying that. And I think actually what you just said is why I do it. I mean, not that nothing is sort of planned with me, can you tell? I'm very, very random with the things that I share, but I think specifically those two things, the hair. I've had so many beautiful messages from women who have been going through hair loss. And as you know, having gone through it, it is it's such a, and maybe it shouldn't be, I don't know, but it's such a part of who we are. And you can, it's a really vulnerable thing to lose your hair for whatever reason.
It is.
And so the fact that, you know, that you felt like you could turn to me or you know, the things that I've shared as a place to go, that's why I share it, because I want people to feel like that. You shouldn't feel ashamed of it. And there are so many solutions as well that I want people to know about. So you know, that's why I do it. But then the flip side of that is that I get so much support. And I think as well with the hair, with all of the things that I share, I've been able to connect with so many people, mostly women. And the messages that I got after the end of my marriage from women all over the world who I didn't know or who I did know sort of, and then they told me their stories, and it just was a point of connection for me and for them that have just kind of created this intimacy with, I don't know, I think that's the beautiful thing about women, and also it's not something that we should have shame attached to. So
100%.
I'm pretty open about that stuff, and if other people get something out of it, then I'm so glad, because that's what we should be doing as women.
I love that. Well, like I said, it really meant a lot to me when I was going through something that was really difficult. So thanks for setting a good example.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad that helped you.
All right. Well, Sally, if you'd stick around, we have one more question for you at the end. But first, a few quick reminders from us.
For all of you watching and listening, we encourage you to rush out and buy your copy of Darling Girls. So the perfect place to do that is in the Friends and Fiction shop on bookshop.org. You'll be getting it at a discount and helping to fund our show, all while supporting our guests like Sally and our beloved independent booksellers nationwide.
We also want to remind you to follow us on Instagram and join our Facebook group, which was nearly 250,000 members strong. When you visit friendsandfiction.com, you can stay abreast of upcoming Friends and Fiction show guests, in-person events, shop our merch store, our book subscription box, and sign up for our weekly email newsletter, which is chock full of bonus content that you won't get anywhere else.
Absolutely. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can catch all of our back episodes, well over 200 of them, and you'll never miss a thing. And when you subscribe to our podcast, you can take us with you wherever you go.
All right, Sally, we have a little bit more to talk about. So readers can't get enough of psychological thrillers like this one, which deals with the fallout from long buried secrets. So can you talk a bit about the appeal of these types of books and what draws you to this genre, which you referred to on your Instagram as, I love this, family dysfunctionality with a dash of murder?
Well, I like to think that, you know, everyone's fantasized about murdering a family member at some point or another. particularly when I wrote The Mother-in-Law, I remember that resonated very deeply with a lot of women around the world. But look, I think that what is fun is that you can capture so much of that universal family dysfunctionality that we all have, you know, with our families, with our partner or our children or our sisters, and then kind of take it to what would happen if, you know, what would happen if something went terribly wrong? What would happen if I did murder them? And and as a writer, that helps me to really act that out vicariously, so I don't have to end up in jail. But also, as a reader, you can kind of, we get to step into that world and travel in someone else's shoes and look at what might happen and what might push us to that. So, and I think there's also something very high stakes about when there's a crime involved, particularly a murder. And as a reader, like that, you're just so drawn into, you know, you need to know what's going to happen. And so that's pretty irresistible as a writer, that, you know, you've got the family dysfunctionality, but also there's a dead body. And so, you know, you need to keep turning those pages.
Absolutely. And Kristy, you know what, the whole episode I've been thinking, gosh, it's too bad that Sally doesn't live closer. But hearing that answer, I'm like, maybe the ocean between us is a good
safe.
thing.
We don't know.
You guys would be very safe.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
no,
That's good.
Yeah.
But she
in
can
fact,
help.
I'm hoping you guys would help me bury the body.
Yeah.
Of course. We're both Sallys, obviously. We've got you.
But we needed them to clean up the mess.
And no one would ever find them.
Oh, yes.
In the laundry.
That's a book plot there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh my God,
Laundry
I love it.
murders.
All right, Sally, can you tell us where can you tell us how we can find you online, on Instagram, your website, all of that, and how we can find you on the road? I know you're going to be here touring in the States in just a couple of weeks.
Very soon. I'm leaving Thursday night, and follow me on Instagram. That's where all of my my kind of live updates will be. Every year something goes wrong. First time all my bank cards stopped working and I had to beg for cash on the street. Last time I came over, I ended up sleeping in a hotel room with a strange middle-aged man and woman. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen.
I still can't believe that you did that and that you lived. That you lived. I mean, there's at least a 30% chance that they were going to murder you.
Oh, and here's the fun bit they didn't know. I had a suitcase full of cash with me because of what happened the year before. So I was there in this 2-star hotel with a suitcase full of cash and these two strangers, as if that's not a book plot waiting to happen, right?
Really good.
I don't know. It's going to be disappointing if we can't live up to that this year. So come follow me on Instagram, and my website, sallyhepworthauthor.com. I'm on Facebook, but probably Instagram is where it all happens for me.
It is indeed. Well, Sally, we had such a great time talking with you. We always do. We knew this was going to be such a treat. But as always, we've loved having you. We loved the book, and we're so excited that it's out and that people are going to get to read it.
Yes.
Thank you. I love talking to you guys, and thank you for all of your support. As always, and listeners, if you can weigh in and let us know if you're a Sally or an M, I'd really like to know that.
Yeah. So be sure to tune in for next week's show when Kristin and Patti will welcome Janet Skeslin-Charles to discuss her upcoming novel, Miss Morgan's Book Brigade. That show will air on the Friends in Fiction Facebook page and YouTube channel on Wednesday, May 1st at 7 p.m., and it will be posted to our podcast for your listening pleasure on Friday, May 3rd.
Also, if you are anywhere near the Jacksonville beaches in Florida, remember that all 4 of the Friends in Fiction hosts, plus Meg, Ron, and even Sean, we're so excited, will be appearing live on Sunday, May 5th at the Cobalt Moon Water Studio on Neptune Beach, hosted by The Bookmark, one of our beloved independent bookstores. Tickets are still available and include a copy of Mary Kay Andrews' brand new novel, Summers at the Saint. And since it's a 3:00 event on a Sunday, it really is the perfect day trip from nearly anywhere in Florida or South Georgia. So I'll be driving up from Orlando that morning, and it'll only take me about 2.5 hours to get there. So if you live within driving distance, you have no excuse. We hope you'll be there. And I don't want to brag, but this will really be the very best place in the entire state to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Just saying.
And you can pre-celebrate the most important day of May, Kristin Harmel's birthday, which happens.
Oh, you remembered.
Next day. So we'll be celebrating that really big. There may or may not be multiple margaritas and champagne, of course, because we have to celebrate Kristin's birthday too. So in the meantime, thanks to all of you out there for being with us. And thank you to Sally again for coming. And we will see you next time. And hopefully we'll see you in Neptune Beach in just a couple weeks. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, Sally.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. You can join us every week on Facebook or YouTube, where our live show airs on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram. We're so glad you're here.